Chapter 1 Together, Late Qing City Beach Province Wuxia Country, an abandoned massive factory somewhere in the suburbs. Despite its dilapidated exterior, the factory's interior is far from shabby. Moreover,
it is spacious and meticulously renovated into a closed-off, massive underground arena. At this moment, the enormous underground arena is brightly lit and teeming with people. The air is thick, and the noise is deafening. Sand King, hang in there.
Tiger, be Sand King. Beat Sand King. Fight, don't stop, beat him hard! The arena is packed with at least 1,000 people, all well dressed and exuding the air of successful individuals. At this moment,
they are all stimulated by the bloody fight in the arena, roaring hysterically as if in a frenzy. A brutal and bloody life or death fight is taking place in the arena. A true life and death battle with signed waivers. One of the fighters is Lin Sha,
a veteran underground black fist fighter in Xen City. He previously boasted a brilliant record of 15 consecutive victories. His superb Sancha skills had reached the peak of Ming Jin internal strength. He was given the title of Sand King.
The other is a Xingyiquan form and will boxing master nicknamed Tiger. His real name is unknown. He had no prior black fist experience in Xen City or even BH province.
It is said that he was brought in from another place by a certain boss who runs the gambling operation at a high price. His strength is extraordinary. At this time, the battle has gradually entered its final stages from a white-hot intensity.
The situation of Sand King, the local black fist fighter from Xen, is very bad. His face is swollen and his eyes are split. Several blue and purple fist marks are imprinted on his bare, muscular chest. His footsteps are unsteady,
swaying as if he could fall at any moment. Traces of bright red blood seep from the cracked corners of his eyes, flowing into his sockets, stinging his eyes and causing him to tear up non-stop. At this moment, he was delirious and his vision was blood red.
The pain in his body had long been numb. In his heart, he didn't know how many times he had cursed the opponent in front of him. The relentlessly pressing Tiger with a sinister face. Damn it! Don't you understand the rules? Can't you see that I'm in this state?
Won't you ask if I'm willing to admit defeat? This is the rule of the black market arena. Even if Sand King wants to take the initiative to admit defeat, he has to see if the opponent will give him face. Once you enter the arena, it's a matter of life and death.
Not a joke. It's not that Sand King is afraid of death. Since he dared to enter the arena, he had already put life and death aside. The main reason is that the timing is too coincidental. He and the boss behind him had already negotiated. After this fight,
he would completely leave the arena and transition to become the security department manager of the boss' newly established real estate company, thereby completely laundering his identity. There is no betrayal or being sold out.
The turnover in small city black market boxing is not so exaggerated. Nor is it enough for bosses with nearly 100 million in assets to take the risk of playing any inside tricks.
That's an old-fashioned program that only exists in big city and international black market boxing matches. With Sand King's strength at the peak of Ming Jin, he simply can't afford to play that game. Who knew his luck would be so bad? This last boxing,
he actually ran into a rare master of internal energy dark power. And a ruthless and aggressive one at that. He looked fierce, as if he wouldn't rest until he killed him. Damn it, he didn't seem to have offended any powerful enemies, did he?
His situation was very bad at this time. He ached all over, and the places where he had been injured by dark energy were in a state of tearing pain, making it difficult to gather strength.
If it weren't for his rich combat experience and instinct to barely defend his vital points, he would have been suffocated to death by the sinister Meng Hu's punch long ago. But even so, he felt that he couldn't hold on for long.
Meng Hu would not let go of the good opportunity to beat a drowning dog. He was invited here with a special purpose. He just wanted to use the corpse of Xuanhuan, a well-known black market boxing master in Xen City, as a stepping stone.
Strike while the iron is hot. At this moment, his eyes were fiercely sharp. His body flashed and he suddenly edged in front of Xuanhuan. His left foot and left fist were in front. His right foot was behind, and his right fist was placed next to his right rib.
His tiger's mouth was swung to the right to form a standard Santi stance. Damn, you want me to die? I would rather die than let you, grandson, have a good time. Seeing Meng Hu posing in this familiar posture, Xuanhuan's dazed brain suddenly woke up.
His eyes were full of fierce light and his heart was boiling with murderous intent. He instantly abandoned all distracting thoughts and mustered his last remaining courage. He used the Sanda standard starting stance with his arms in front and behind,
preparing to meet Meng Hu's deadly attack. Thanks to the highly developed network information of modern times, there are detailed introductions to the practice and fighting methods of various schools of internal boxing.
Xuanhuan could see at a glance that the movement used by Meng Hu was the early routine of the Baozhilin Huanbeng. Sure enough, Meng Hu suddenly roared, the veins on his forehead popping out. His body leaned forward, his left foot moved forward,
and his right foot followed. At the same time, his right fist twisted inward, his tiger's mouth facing upward, and he punched forward. His left fist retracted when the two fists crossed, his tiger's mouth facing left and placed next to his left rib. In this
2 feet and always the left foot in front and the right foot behind. 2 fists out and in, one after another, like a string of beads and sharp arrows. Under such fierce attacks, Xuanhuan retreated again and again, supporting himself from left to right,
blocking in a very embarrassed manner. In particular, Meng Hu's punches were not only powerful and fast as sharp arrows, but also carried insidious dark energy. As long as there was slight contact, it would bring considerable damage and pain to Xuanhuan.
After only a few breaths, his 2 forearms were bruised and purple. After a wave of tingling pain, they were almost completely numb. His nose and corners of his mouth were severely shocked, and blood was flowing.
His face was as pale as paper and his body was shaking as if he would collapse to the ground in the next moment. At this time, the audience around the ring had completely gone crazy. Each and every one of them was red-faced, roaring and screaming hysteric.
Some were shouting to kill Xuanhuan, and others were desperately cheering for Xuanhuan, telling him to hold on. The noisy sound waves were rampant, and the atmosphere was extremely hot. The noise of the audience could not affect the two on the ring at all.
At this time, they had entered a critical moment of life and death. Fortunately, Meng Hu was only a beginner in Dark Force. He hadn't reached the terrifying stage of the late Dark Force level where he could unleash Dark Force with any contact on his body.
He could only rely on direct blows from his fists and injure people with Dark Force. This gave Xuanhuan an opportunity. Continuous half-step Bengquan strikes. The extent of the consumption could be seen from the sweat all over Meng Hu's face and body.
The huge physical exertion forced Meng Hu to slow down his attack speed. You should know that Bengquan focuses on fierce strikes and a ruthless momentum. Once the attack speed slows down, the power also drops greatly.
Taking advantage of this great opportunity, Xuanhuan endured the severe pain in his hands and suddenly spread his arms. He took a sliding step forward and, in Meng Hu's stunned gaze, encircled his head.
Ignoring the severe pain caused by the continuous heavy blows on his body, he opened his mouth and repeatedly spewed out blood mixed with fragments of internal organs, with a fierce and resolute expression.
He hooked his arms around Meng Hu's head and pressed down. His right knee, carrying all the strength of his body, fiercely delivered a charging knee strike upwards. Crack! This was the most wonderful sound Xuanhuan heard before losing consciousness.
He thought that Meng Hu, that grandson, had suffered such a heavy blow. Even if he didn't die, he would become a cripple. He hadn't suffered in vain. What he didn't know was that the last charging knee directly shattered the chest bones of Meng Hu.
A Dark Force master of Internal Fist who had been in a dominant position, killing him instantly, and he himself didn't get any benefit. Chapter 2, A Sudden Soul Transference. Lin Sha. Lin Sha. Hurry up, master's waiting for us to practice. Don't make noise.
Let me sleep a little longer. Feeling someone shaking his body in a daze, Lin Sha waved his hand in annoyance. Brat, still sleeping. You'll be in trouble if you don't get up. The person shaking Lin Sha's body couldn't help but laugh and curse. Then,
damn, which bastard? Lin Sha thought someone was playing a prank. He turned over unhappily, ready to explode, but suddenly saw a strange tight. He was stunned. Who is this guy? Wasn't I in the ring?
How did I get here? Is this a hospital? But it doesn't look like it. Before he could figure out what was going on, the fat face close to him showed a hint of impatience. He stretched out a thick and powerful fat hand and directly lifted him up.
Ignoring his struggles, he strode towards the door. What happened next almost made Lin Sha collapse. The master in the fat man's mouth was a heroic young man of 27 or 8. This guy's appearance was really not bad, just standing there.
He had the air of a master. He looked gentle and refined, making people feel comfortable. But the fatal thing was that he didn't know this guy with the demeanor of a great hero at all.
What made him even more dumbfounded was that both this unfamiliar master and the burly fat man from before had completely bald foreheads with conspicuous braids trailing behind their heads. This is a Qing Dynasty hallmark.
Could it be that I've time traveled? Fortunately, his mental fortitude was quite strong, and he didn't exhibit any strange reactions. Before he could figure out what was happening, the burly fat man, with a face full of horizontal flesh,
had already pulled in half, dragged him out of the front hall filled with medicine cabinets. Following behind the valiant young man as he pushed open the door and went outside. Greetings. Master Huang, Master Huang.
Outside the door, hundreds of robust and sturdy young men had already gathered, hurriedly greeting the valiant young man respectfully. The repeated calls of Master Huang sounded extremely familiar to Lin Sha, as if suddenly remembering something.
He abruptly pushed away the fat man's greasy hand and hurriedly turned around to look at the door lintel of the entrance he had just exited. Sure enough,
there was a black lacquered plaque on the lintel with the 3 flamboyant characters Po Chi Lam written on it, returning from martial arts practice at the seaside. Lin Sha locked himself in his room without saying a word, not even having time for breakfast.
Lin kid. Senior apprentice brother Lin Sharong's loud voice came from outside the door. I'm fine. Senior apprentice brother. I'm fine. I'm just feeling a bit unwell and want to rest for a while. He hurriedly made an excuse.
I'm going to do business now. Let's go. Hearing Lin Sharong's heavy footsteps gradually fade away, Lin Sha suddenly collapsed onto the hard bed, his eyes blank, his face dazed, and his mind in chaos. Damn it.
I actually time traveled into the world of the movie Once Upon a Time in China. If he remembered correctly, he should have been fighting in the last black market arena match. As a result,
he unfortunately encountered an expert in internal martial arts with concealed force. His brains were practically bashed out, and in the end, he was forced to choose a desperate mutual destruction.
He clearly remembered hearing the sound of bones breaking before losing consciousness. His internal organs were also severely damaged by continuous concealed force attacks. Even if he could regain his life,
he would probably have to lie in bed for the rest of his days. Being able to time travel and be reborn might be a good thing for him. At least he could have a healthy body and have Huang Feihong,
the famous martial artist from Guangdong in the Late Qing Dynasty and early Republic of China, as his teacher. His mood was somewhat depressed, complicated, and hard to describe. Lying on his back on the bed, he sorted out the memories left in his mind.
The previous owner of the body was also called Lin Sha, an orphan beggar in Foshan city, Guangdong. He was kindly taken in by Huang Feihong and joined Po Chi Lam to study traditional Chinese medicine and kung fu, although he was only 14 years old.
He had been in Po Chi Lam for 6 years. His kung fu and traditional Chinese medicine knowledge were quite impressive. Seeing this, his mood improved slightly.
Although he didn't learn the signature move from the Once Upon a Time in China movies, the shadowless kick, he did learn all of Huang Feihong's superb Hungar kung fu. Turning to this point, he felt a surge of heat in his heart.
He leaped out of bed and onto the floor. Following his memory, he practiced the 5-form fist. Feeling restricted in the room, he impatiently pushed open the closed door and went outside. Lin, your body. Bo, better,
better. Hearing the commotion behind him, a skinny young man with a melon cap and ridiculously outdated black-rimmed glasses poked his head out from the moon gate of the front hall, revealing 2 dazzling buck teeth.
He stuttered so badly that one couldn't help but feel anxious for him. It's nothing. I'm going to the back to practice. Sootherly, you carry on. From his memories, he knew that this person was none other than Sootherly,
a minor character from the movie Once Upon a Time in China, who had just returned from abroad and was studying medicine under Huang Feihong. The former Lin Sha naturally didn't have a good impression of such a fake foreigner. But now it was different.
In any case, the other party was a rare overseas talent in this era. He should give him some respect and maybe he'd need his help in the future. Oh, see. Then, I'll go be busy. A strange look flashed in Sootherly's eyes.
He wondered why senior brother Lin Sha had become so easy to talk to. Shaking his head, he didn't think too much about it and continued with his own work. This stuttering problem, I wonder how he managed abroad. Shaking his head,
he quickly went to the small training ground in the backyard of Po Chi Lam. He adopted a stance and first went through the 5-form fist. Then, he performed a set of his master Huang Feihong's signature fist technique, the Taming the Tiger fist. Finally,
he practiced the tiger crane fist, which combined the ferocity of the tiger and the agility of the crane. At first he was a bit sluggish, the movements of his hands and feet often couldn't keep up with his thoughts. Gradually, his body's memory recovered,
and his hand techniques became smoother. His figure was agile, and his movements were as nimble as a monkey. Every punch and kick brought with it the sound of wind, making him feel incredibly refreshed.
A wonderful feeling of I am very powerful surged into his heart. He walked in a straight line, his body as fast as the wind. He bent his waist and slammed his fists heavily on the sandbag hanging from the wooden pole. With a muffled thud, the huge sack,
weighing no less than 50 pounds, was sent flying like it had been hit directly by a siege hammer. It drew a beautiful arc as it soared high into the sky. This is the real Chinese martial arts. Chinese martial arts that only kills and doesn't perform.
Master Wang, is Master Wang here? Lin Sha was immersed in the joy of practicing martial arts and couldn't extricate himself, but a series of loud knocks and a young man's unique, unpleasant voice woke him from his fascination. Damn.
Is he rushing to be reincarnated? Where did this impolite brat come from? Chapter 30 Lung Foon. Casually flicking off the sticky sweat from his body and twirling his annoying long braid, he walked angrily towards the front hall.
Just as he passed the middle hall, he heard a very interesting conversation between Sootherly and the boy who had been knocking on the door. At the same time, it stirred up some extremely vague memories from his childhood in his previous life.
Only heard Ya Chai feigning a cough and asking, who the creak? The ajar door was pushed open. Then his frustrating stutter returned. Why you? Who are you? What brings you here? The raspy-voiced young man's tone immediately turned amiable.
Answering politely, I'm Xuanhuan from Meizo. I've come to Foshan specifically to become a disciple of Master Huang. Is Master Huang here? Hearing this, Lin Sha's body suddenly jolted. It's Xuanhuan. He was naturally familiar with Xuanhuan.
He remembered that in the Huang Feihong films, Max Mock portrayed Xuanhuan exceptionally well, with his carefree laughter and scolding. Especially those clever, bright eyes that left a deep impression, since it had been so long.
The specific details of the film were no longer clear in his memory. He never expected Xuanhuan to become Huang Feihong's disciple at this time. He quickened his pace, but heard Ye Chai's stuttering voice saying, he. Xuanhuan eagerly interjected.
He's not here. I am Master Huang. These words were too easily misunderstood. As expected, Xuanhuan fell for it. He happily said, "You're Master Huang," Ye Chai hurriedly explained. "No, you are Master Huang." Xuanhuan was finally certain.
Then he said, "I saw a bull and practiced with it, and I accidentally hurt my hand. Master Huang, can you take a look at it for me?" "Okay," Ye Chai said. Hey, Master Huang, you've got it wrong. It's not this one, it's that one."
Xuanhuan quickly reminded him. By the time Lin Sha walked to the moon gate of the main hall, he heard Xuanhuan exclaim in surprise, "Master Huang, I injured my hand. Why are you bandaging my foot? Ha ha ha."
He couldn't hold back any longer and burst out laughing. Wiping the tears of laughter from his face, he pointed at Ye Chai and said, "Ye Chai, you fake foreigner. You've muddled your brain studying abroad, haven't you?"
"I really don't know how you got into Baozhilin. Who is this young brother?" A bright-eyed young man sat on a chair in the main hall. The right trouser leg was pulled up and wrapped tightly with white cloth. At this moment,
he was staring with curious eyes at the heroic young man who suddenly walked out from the back hall. Lin Sha, how did you come out?" Ye Chai was blushing with embarrassment, and his stutter became even worse.
He couldn't exactly say that he was identifying acupoints and was just using this reckless young man Xuanhuan to try his hand, could he? "If I didn't come out, you'd ruin Baozhilin's reputation." Lin Sha sat down opposite Xuanhuan in a commanding manner.
"My name is Lin Sha, Huang Feihong's disciple." Saying that, he pointed the embarrassed Ye Chai and said, "This is Ye Chai, also Huang Feihong's disciple, brother. Don't misunderstand, he's not my master! Now!"
Even Ye Su was speechless and Xuanhuan looked embarrassed. Seeing Lin Sha stretch out his hand, he asked in confusion, "Brother Lin Sha, what is this? Give me your hand. Let me take a look," Lin Sha said with a light smile.
"I've been learning from my master for 6 years, so I can still check some injuries. Unlike Yosu Su, who just came back from abroad and his level of Chinese medicine is terrible." Oh, Xuanhuan, looking bewildered,
hurriedly stretched out his injured hand. Lin Sha sat upright and focused, holding his breath. First, he checked the swelling and bruising on Xuanhuan's forearm from being hit by the bull. Then,
he gently placed the index and middle fingers of his right hand on Xuanhuan's injured arm and wrist, closing his eyes slightly to take his pulse. Ye Su squatted aside with envy,
unwrapping the bandage on Xuanhuan's right foot while carefully observing Lin Sha's every move. The main hall of Baozhilin was instantly quiet, despite Lin Sha's current appearance of a calm and composed famous doctor.
He was actually constantly rummaging through the original owner's memories of Chinese medicine and traumatology, using Xuanhuan as a guinea pig for experiments. After a long while, "How is it, brother Lin Sha?"
Xuanhuan was frightened by the serious expression on the young man's face. This guy had been closing his eyes and pondering for too long, hadn't he? "It's nothing. Just a common contusion. I'll give you a massage later."
"And then take a bottle of safflower oil back and rub it a few more times, and you'll be fine." "But brother, you have a bit of excessive heat in your body. Just be careful not to get too excited on weekdays." Lin Sha opened his eyes and chuckled lightly,
barely concealing the embarrassment in his heart. Then thank you, brother Lin Sha." Xuanhuan's tender face, still sporting a few pimples, showed a happy smile. While receiving Lin Sha's massage service, his lively little eyes darted around,
revealing an embarrassed expression, as he pleaded, "Brother Lin Sha, can you ask Master Huang to take me as a disciple?" Lin Sha was a little tempted. Anyway, this kid Xuanhuan was going to join Baozhilin sooner or later.
Why not build a good relationship in advance so that it would be easier to get along in the future? How about it? Xuanhuan, seeing a glimmer of hope, hurriedly urged, "I can't guarantee this. I'll introduce you to Master when he comes back."
"As for whether or not you succeed, it depends on your own ability." Lin Sha didn't rush to pat his chest and make a promise. That would be too enthusiastic and too fake. It should be. Xuanhuan nodded repeatedly with a happy face. Then,
he made a gesture of thanks to Lin Sha with one hand. "I must also thank brother Lin Sha for your help. Ye Su, where is Master?" Lin Sha chuckled lightly, not saying much. After the previous commotion, he had completely integrated into his new identity. Being a disciple of the generation's grandmaster, benevolent and invincible Huang Feihong wasn't bad at all.
He turned to Yosu in confusion and asked. It was only then that he felt something was wrong. If it were normal times,
his unusual behavior would have definitely caught Huang Feihong's attention. After all, they had been master and disciple for 6 years. A little attention would have revealed the problem. But
Huang Feihong not only didn't notice his abnormality during today's martial arts practice, but it seemed like he didn't even eat breakfast at Po Chi Lam. Besides, at this time, Huang Feihong was usually sitting in Po Chi Lam seeing patients. I don't
really know. And I heard the senior brother mention it when eating breakfast, it seems that the master's uncle has returned.
Returned from England. Master. Yotsai's thin face turned red. Clearly, he had too much to say at once, and his stuttering became even worse as he spoke too quickly. Chapter 4. Slowly getting acquainted.
Liang Quan's face showed obvious disappointment. Although Yatsai stuttered to a certain extent, he still understood what he meant. No.
Yatsai adjusted his glasses that had slipped down his nose, shook his head, and looked apologetic. Come tomorrow morning. Liang Quan, I'll say hello to master in advance today.
He took out a small porcelain bottle filled with safflower oil from the medicine cabinet, poured some on his hand, gently rubbed it, and then applied it all to the bruised area on Liang Quan's hand. At the same time,
he didn't forget to do a favor to gain goodwill. Thank you, brother Lin Sha! Liang Quan was overjoyed upon hearing this and thanked him repeatedly. You're welcome. Seeing the swelling on Liang Quan's hand subside a little,
Lin Sha stopped his movements and handed back the small bottle filled with safflower oil. The words of retention originally on his lips turned into, Liang Quan, do you have a place to stay in Foshan? Thank you. Brother Lin Sha, how much does this medicine cost?
Liang Quan first took the small porcelain bottle and thanked him, then took out a tattered small money bag from his pocket, poured out a handful of copper coins from it, and showed a reluctant and painful look on his face.
It seemed that his economic situation was not very good. Lin Sha didn't stand on ceremony and took 7 copper coins, calling Yatsai to register the account. Sea turtles in this era didn't receive any special treatment.
Yatsai's status as a medical apprentice was naturally not as good as Lin Sha, who had been following Huang Feihong for 6 years. Being called around and bossed around was to be expected. I have a relative who works as a steward in an opera troupe.
I might be able to find a job for you there. He carefully placed the remaining coins into his worn-out small money bag, then solemnly tucked it into his bosom. Only then did Liang Quan answer the other question. A theatrical troupe.
Lin Sha frowned slightly upon hearing this. However, some things were not easy to say outright. What's wrong, brother Lin Sha? Is there something amiss? Liang Quan was observant and quick-witted. Lin Sha's hesitant manner made him uneasy, so he quickly asked.
It's just that theatrical troupes are a mixed bag, with all sorts of people. Liang Quan, you need to be careful there. If you accidentally offend someone you shouldn't, it'll be a troublesome matter, because of the distant time.
Lin Sha didn't remember the plot of the Huang Feihong movies very clearly. He also didn't know if Liang Quan's apprenticeship with Huang Feihong would go smoothly. So, based on the original owner's memory, he issued a warning.
After experiencing 2 opium wars in the Late Qing Dynasty, the central authority of our Great Qing Dynasty declined daily. Local forces rose, and Western powers infiltrated. Local gangs were rampant and chaos was evident.
Especially in port cities like Foshan, which opened to trade earliest. Foreign powers acted domineering. Corrupt officials were unscrupulous. The Qing troop stationed there had lax discipline and heavily disturbed the people.
The militia forces were arrogant and acted as local bullies. The gentry and landlords had deep-rooted influence and did whatever they wanted. And gang forces did all kinds of evil and infiltrated every aspect of the lower levels of society.
There was also a mix of various forces from the 3 religions and 9 streams. It's no exaggeration to describe it as a chaotic mix of dragons and snakes. The public security environment was very bad. Don't worry, brother Lin Sha, I will be careful.
Liang Quan got up to thank him. At this moment, someone else entered the clinic. He hurriedly cupped his hands and said loudly, Brother Lin Sha, I won't disturb your work. I'll come again tomorrow morning. After seeing Liang Quan off,
he returned to the clinic and happened to see Ya Chisu stuttering something to the young, sturdy lad who had just come in. Lin Sha took a closer look and realized it was Huang Feihong's other disciple, his junior apprentice brother, Ling Yunkai.
Senior brother Ling, you're back so early. He walked over and, according to the original owner's temperament, casually greeted him. Business is getting harder and harder to do. Ling Yankai shook his head, looking helpless. He hadn't sold many fish.
But several groups had come to collect protection money. Lin Sha was speechless, not knowing what to say. Although he knew that the social security environment in the Late Qing Dynasty was extremely poor, he didn't expect it to be this bad.
Ling Yankai was different from him. The Ling family was originally a commoner family in Foshan. Besides practicing martial arts with his master Huang Feihong every day, he also had to do some small business to supplement the family income. Unlike Lin Sha,
who lived and ate at Po Chi Lam, he only needed to see patients practice kung fu and that was it. His master Huang Feihong didn't treat him like a beast of burden or make overly harsh demands. Alright, let's not talk about these annoying things.
Who was that kid just now? Ling Yunkai waved his hand, changing the subject, and asked with a curious expression. The kid from Meixian is named Liang Quan. He also wants to become an apprentice to learn martial arts. Lin Sha said with a light smile.
Has an interesting fellow. He was thoroughly teased by Tooth Extraction Su just now. As he spoke, he vividly recounted the embarrassing incident of Tooth Extraction Su using Liang Quan to practice acupoints. It really made Ling Yunkai burst into laughter.
Food with a face full of embarrassment. Chuckled foolishly. Lin Sha, why, do you seem to be especially enthusiastic about that kid called? After laughing for a while, Tooth Extraction Su,
to cover up his embarrassment, quickly changed the subject, looking at Lin Sha with a face full of curiosity, seeing a hint of curiosity in senior brother Ling's eyes. Lin Sha chuckled and explained.
I think that kid is clever and has some martial arts foundation. Maybe he'll be favored by master and become our junior brother. So I'm giving him a favor in advance to get closer, so as to avoid awkwardness in the future. Right, you're just a clever kid.
Ling Yunkai laughed and scolded, not taking it too seriously. He waved his hand and got up to walk outside, not forgetting to call out, "I'll go home first. You two brothers continue to sit in the clinic!" After sending off senior brother Ling Yunkai.
Po Chi Lam suddenly became quiet. After Tooth Extraction Su finished the matters on the counter, he held up an acupoint chart and continued to identify the acupoints. Lin Sha did not return to the back hall small martial arts practice area. Instead,
he sat upright in the hall's consultation chair, waiting for patients to come while sorting out and familiarizing himself with the original owner's memories. Po Chi Lam's business was quite decent. In one morning, they received 5 patients,
all with injuries from falls and blows. For minor injuries and illnesses, Lin Sha prescribed medicine and treated them according to the TCM knowledge in his mind. For some more complex ailments, he did not prescribe medicine randomly. Instead,
he used some neutral herbs with no side effects to help alleviate the pain, and then asked them to leave their contact addresses and wait for master to return, so he could personally diagnose them one by one. When he practiced Sanda in his previous life,
he had a lot of bumps and bruises, and he often asked old Chinese medicine practitioners for help with treatment and care. Even if he had never eaten pork, he had seen pigs walk, combined with the original owner's solid TCM knowledge and treatment experience.
It was not a problem to deal with some minor injuries and illnesses. Even if he couldn't cure them, he wouldn't worsen the condition. Tooth Extraction Su assisted by the side, busily helping with registration and dispensing medicine.
Occasionally glancing at Lin Sha, who looked very much the part, his eyes were full of envy and admiration. It wasn't until noon that they became free. Lunch was made by Tooth Extraction Su. It was very simple, 1 dish, 1 soup, and plenty of rice.
The two of them ate with relish. During this time, Tooth Extraction Su took the opportunity to ask some TCM-related questions, and Lin Sha also learned more about Po Chi Lam and Master Huang Feihong from him, which could be considered a win-win situation.
Chapter 30 Thant and Confusion. Master, you're back! It wasn't until the sunset glowed on the horizon and night was about to fall that Huang Feihong returned to Po Chi Lam with a smile on his face. After a day of adjustment and familiarization,
Lin Sha couldn't claim a 100% match with the original body, but achieving 80% compatibility was no problem. Upon seeing Huang Feihong, he hurriedly stepped forward to greet him as usual. Huang Feihong was evidently in a good mood.
He simply nodded with a smile, not noticing any difference in Lin Sha. He beckoned and stepped aside slightly. Come, let me introduce you. Only then did Lin Sha and Yai Chia Su realize in surprise that their master was accompanied by a beautiful
Western dress lady. She wore an elaborate white Western dress, a floral-brimmed hat, and was smiling demurely at them. Lin Sha's heart stirred, and a familiar name immediately flashed in his mind. Sure enough,
his adopted master Huang Feihong introduced with a smile. This is 13th aunt. She just returned from England with her family today. You'll have many opportunities to meet her in the future. Then,
he turned and gracefully introduced Lin Sha and Chia Su to the beautiful 13th aunt, explaining briefly that the two young men were his disciples. Hello, 13th aunt. After his adopted master Huang Feihong finished the introduction,
Lin Sha and Chia Su hurriedly stepped forward to greet her respectfully. Hello to you both. No need to be so formal. A gentle smile appeared on 13th aunt's delicate face. Her voice was crisp, melodious, and very pleasant to hear. As she drew closer,
A faint, pleasant fragrance wafted around. Lin Sha kept his eyes down, focused on the task at hand, not daring to look askance. He first invited his adopted master Huang Feihong to sit in the main hall.
Then invited the Western-dressed beauty 13th aunt to sit as a guest. After that, he poured tea and water, serving them diligently, while Chasu awkwardly helped out on the side. He didn't know about Ya.
But Lin Sha certainly didn't have any improper thoughts. 13th aunt was indeed beautiful, and her Western attire was very eye-catching in this era. But it didn't mean that Lin Sha would be amazed by her.
He had seen too many beauties in later generations and had long developed immunity. Moreover, it was obvious that the beautiful 13th aunt had an ambiguous relationship with his adopted master Huang Feihong. He wouldn't be as clueless as Lung Fun.
Entertaining any wild fantasies. After a round of polite conversation, it grew dark outside. Without Lin Sha having to lift a finger, Chasu obediently lit the oil lamp. Although the light was dim, it didn't hinder their conversation.
Huang Feihong inquired about the situation at Baozhilin today. Upon learning that everything was well and no accidents had occurred, and after reviewing the case records Lin Sha had diagnosed without finding any errors,
he was pleased and praised Lin Sha handsomely. Master, these few require your personal visit for diagnosis. I have already noted down their current addresses. Lin Sha chuckled and said a few modest words. Then, pointing to the addresses recorded on the paper,
as well as the patient's conditions, his preliminary diagnosis, and treatment plans, he looked apologetically at his adopted master. Ah, you've done well. I will personally visit and diagnose them all tomorrow.
Huang Feihong was very satisfied with Lin Sha's meticulous performance. He did not blame Lin Sha for being meddlesome. It's good that master doesn't mind. By the way, Lin Sha adopted the proper demeanor of a disciple, yet without a hint of fear.
He respected Huang Feihong, the virtuous martial arts grandmaster of the Late Qing Dynasty, but he did not blindly worship him. Whether doing things or looking at problems, he carried the rationality and realism that a modern person should possess.
Taking advantage of the harmonious atmosphere, he hurriedly told his nominal master about Lung Fun's desire to become a disciple. Huang Feihong didn't reply immediately. A handsome face showed a troubled expression. After a moment of contemplation, he said,
"Let's meet him tomorrow morning. Let him train with the militia first. It's not too late to make plans after he's familiar with them. Whatever master decides." Lin Sha didn't react much to this.
Although he found it strange that Lung Fun's apprenticeship might not be smooth, it had nothing to do with him. He had done what he promised by passing on the message from So's words and the memories of the body's original owner.
He was very clear that Po Chi Lam's financial situation was not well off. Most of the income was poured into the bottomless pit that was the militia, making life difficult for his nominal master and his disciples. It could be described as hand-to-mouth.
This was also something that puzzled him. The identity of his nominal master, Huang Feihong, was not simple. He was not only the owner of Po Chi Lam, a famous Foshan boxer, but also the famous chief instructor of the Black Flag Army,
and the head coach of the Foshan town militia. The identity of the medical clinic owner was naturally nothing. The title of famous Foshan boxer could only deter petty criminals and prevent harassment and exploitation from gangs.
The latter two coaching identities were not so simple, especially the chief instructor of the Black Flag Army. This identity was extremely unusual.
This was because most of the Black Flag Army was ordered to be transferred to Annam to help the kingdom of Annam resist the French invasion. Liu Yongfu led the main force of the Black Flag Army and fought well,
causing the French to suffer several heavy losses in Annam, and was regarded as a thorn in the side by the French. The ridiculous thing was that the imperial court wanted to use Liu Yongfu's Black Flag Army to create trouble for the French,
while at the same time trying its best to guard against this militia-like armed force transformed from the Heaven and Earth Society's rebel forces, while transferring the main force of the Black Flag Army's land army to Annam.
It conveniently disbanded the Black Flag Army's navy, as the chief instructor of the Black Flag Army and the head coach of the Foshan town militia. When the Black Flag Army commander Liu Yongfu left,
he entrusted all the hundreds of young and strong brothers of the disbanded Black Flag Army Navy to his nominal master Huang Feihong for resettlement. His nominal master, Huang Feihong, was a man of great loyalty and righteousness.
After the main force of the Black Flag Army left, he immediately arranged for hundreds of Navy brothers to join the Foshan town militia, and they trained together every morning. As everyone knows,
the militia is not a formal armed force in the imperial court's establishment, but a quasi-militarized armed organization organized by local gentry to maintain local security and deter petty criminals.
It is under the dual leadership of gentry forces and the government, and its military pay is basically raised by the local area. The Foshan militia wasn't a behemoth like the Shang army or the Huai army.
Each militiaman received very little in terms of provisions and pay. They had to find other ways to make money just to barely support their families. Life was very difficult. So, whenever a militia brother's family was genuinely struggling,
his good-for-nothing apprentice would take money from Po Chi Lam to help them out. As time went on, the number of people increased, and the situation naturally worsened. But here's the problem. In Lin Sha's eyes, his good-for-nothing apprentice, Hong,
controlled a lot of resources. Although he wasn't the chief of the militia, his prestige within the militia was so high that even the chief had to give him some respect. According to Lin Sha's idea, with the Foshan militia backing him,
as long as he used it properly, making a lot of money would be a piece of cake. Moreover, it would be the most legitimate way to make money.
But the final result was that the militiamen who had been transformed from the Black Flag Army's naval brothers lived a hard life. Po Chi Lam was also implicated and has not been able to expand its business. At the same time, his good-for-nothing apprentice,
Huang Feihong, was also worried about funds all day long.
The audiobook for chapters 1 to 5 of this issue has concluded. Subscribe to this channel, turn on the notification bell, share, and leave your comments. I will continue to update subsequent content.